morning. So I wanted to do a vlog on how to stay positive, um, because I guess this is something I would blog about, or something that's just weighing on me right now, and something I've been thinking about like the past, thinking about much more the past couple of days, um, but it's just, uh, so with the whole 2012 New Agey thing, and the birthing of the fifth world, I just feel like, okay, of course I'm already completely insane and crazy. We know that, that's established. We don't need to question that or analyze that or overthink that. In comparison to the rest of, the norm, the baseline, the, bell curve of human existence, I'm way out there. Way out there on the edge. I'm not in the middle part of the curve. I'm way over here or way over here. So we don't need to question that. But lately I feel like there's so much pressure. It's impossible for me to operate in linear time. And I feel like I keep getting shoved back into this reality that I don't actually exist in. Okay, let's take a step back. So let's assume that all these intuitions and feelings and thoughts I have are actually valid, and we live in some kind of alternate reality where this stuff could plausibly be true. So I'm not really a human. My spirit is not human. And for me to have been on Earth and be on Earth and keep coming back to Earth and existing and inhabiting this sort of a physical body in this sort of a social reality is totally bizarre. And it was totally bizarre, in past lifetimes. But stuff has just gotten insane. You take insane and then you make it insane. More insane. So something that was already, uncomfortable and, incomprehensible has gotten beyond any sort of way that I can relate to anything that I actually know. So I have lots of, little different theories or stories that you could tell about who I actually am and where I came from and why I'm here, but I don't think that's relevant to this right now, because I'm trying to figure out, the premise of this is how to stay positive when you are, surrounded by complete insanity. And it's just every day something happens. I'm being forced to, maintain a job so that I have an income, and luckily I'm very blessed to have very flexible hours, and I'm blessed to have more than one source of income, so that I have 2 or 3 different things going on at any given moment, and I can kind of work. I'm not obligated to be at some crappy minimum have 2 or 3 minimum wage, wage slave jobs. I pretty much think everything for anyone under the age of 40, unless you've been in the military. If you're living in the United States and you're a young person and you don't have a military background to put you ahead, or and maybe it's just the geographic regions I've lived in, but good luck not having a wage slave job. Everything is hourly, part-time, on call, no health insurance, no retirement, no 401k. Most employers are completely not understanding about you having children or having a family, or wanting to prioritize anything above and beyond their bottom line for their shareholders. So And then, you know, people have taken out tens of thousands of dollars in debt just to get a bachelor's degree, and a bachelor's degree is equivalent to a high school diploma. Like, there's all this insane stuff going on. How do you stay positive when you're faced with these situations? How do you stay positive, like all those people in Oklahoma yesterday? Like, I know more Oklahoma was hit really bad. I haven't really paid that much attention to the news. I actually do try and kind of isolate myself. I don't watch television, and maybe that's part of why I'm obsessing with YouTube slightly right now, because I need something at the end of the day. I feel like I need something I need to be entertained. I need to shut my brain off, because I feel like I'm personally responsible for all of this insanity that's going on. Like, and there are things that make me, and there's nothing I can do about them. Like my whole little spiel about how you're kind of screwed, if you're under 40 and you live in the United States. Good luck trying to find a job. And I just feel like I get from older people, like baby boomers, they're like, well, if you had just, picked the right major, or if you would just work harder. Like, how many of you are already putting in, like, so many hours and got, like, straight A's and graduated summa cum laude? Or, I mean, like, how much, and the people that are telling you this are, like, they skated by with D's in high school and, like, barely graduated college. And maybe it even took them, like, 5 or 6 years to finish. And they changed their major, like, 7 times. And they're like, well, if you had just, it's not so bad. And you're like, are you insane? Like, if you had to live up to my standards, you would have failed. Miserably, horribly. And you're telling me, well, if I had just done this and this, then I would be, like, on my way to Easy Street? Like, what are you smoking? And so I get upset. I want to slap these people. Like, I do. Where are you coming from? This is not 1960. You can't just, like, waltz through and, skate on by. Like, you have to be perfect. Perfect. Okay, you're applying for a job, and there's, like, you're competing with 300 to 500 other people. So being in the top 50% is not even going to get you an interview. It's not even going to get your resume, like, a second glance. So you have to be the best. So if you're living in this linear, rational world, then that's what you're faced with. You're faced with, the top 1% is just not good enough. You're not going to make the cut. Sorry. So that's where this whole, like, 2012 new age bullshit, whatever you want. There I go swearing again. Can't help it. I'm not going to edit that out either. Too bad. That's where, this non-linear, non-rational, non-logical sort of reality has to come in, because the cognitive dissonance of living in the world that you were, like, brought up to believe in and grew up in is impossible. Like, you will lose your sanity. You will lose your mind. You're going to be depressed or suicidal. Once you've had this awareness, like, awoken in you, this cognitive dissonance just builds and builds and builds. And if you try to continue in a linear, rational, logical fashion, you're like, well, if this and then this, but it doesn't work. And so you just have to, like, step back and maybe isolate yourself. And you have to do a lot of, like, self-talk. Like, you know what? You're going to be a good girl today. You're not going to, dump half a cup of cream in your coffee or something. No dairy. Whatever it is that your goal is. Like, if you want to quit some sort of, like, neurostimulant like coffee or nicotine or something, like, whatever your goal is, or you want to read more novels, or you want to like get into blogging, or you want to learn how to grow a garden, or you want to become a beauty guru or model, or whatever it is that you want to do. You want to learn how to play ukulele. I don't know. Whatever your goal is, it's going to take a lot of like retraining the self-talk you have in your head, depending on where you're at, because we're all like at these different levels of, you know, what our soul is trying to achieve and what we're here for. I don't know what I'm here for, because I feel like I did not volunteer for this. I didn't say, oh yes, please let me go to Earth when it's a complete disaster. You know, like, am I supposed to like teach you, hey, I've gotten to this point and I can't go back. I can't like anesthetize myself or numb myself to like not be aware of these things that are going on and go back and be, you know, content or miserable or whatever, but at least able to cope and function in the huge cognitive dissonance and insanity that's going on. And I just feel like once you reach your tipping point, whenever that may be for you, and I'm not entirely convinced that all of humanity has to reach a tipping point now where we're going to end up in some kind of crazy police state, like dystopian darkness, if, you know, the whole of humanity doesn't awaken in the next 4.5 months, or it's the only reason that I'm like seeing this stuff in this fifth world, you know, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, age of Aquarius kind of thing, is because I've reached that tipping point and it resonates with me. It's a way to tell a story, to explain what's happening, you know, in my head. Or not, I don't know. But I don't think that we're going to be spun into, you know, darkness. I think I did some oral history interviews with people that had lived through the Holocaust, like in Poland and Germany, and, you know, made it to the United States and had amazing, you know, the suffering that they went through during World War II, and then how they were able to like have a life after that, like survive that and still continue and go on to have a successful life after that is pretty amazing. But that being said, there has always been darkness and suffering and like happening here, like in this geographic little space. And there are, you know, parts of the world and time periods where it's been relatively stable and everything's kind of just been ho-hum status quo for millennium at a time. But, you know, your life can either be complete hell and suffering and darkness, or it can be fun, or it can be paradise. It can be really whatever you want to make it. Yes, there are many, many, many external circumstances that you have absolutely no control over. Like, you can't control, you know, what those physical things are. You can't help it that you keep getting stuck and pushed back into this linear time frame because you have to do things and interact with other people, and they're still operating on this linear time, and they really, like, you know, I can't even, I don't get it. Like, time is so not linear for me anymore. There's like these little discrete packets that just, and there's now, and there's stuff that already happened, and there's stuff that's going to happen, and then there's stuff that's like not in this reality, but like in another reality, but that didn't really happen, but it's like it happened because you have memories of it, or you have false memory syndrome. But all of those little packets are accessible to me now in the form of like a memory or a trigger to like, it's like playing back a videotape, like playing this back in your head. Like, the whole experience of that little packet is right there. Not just like the image and sound, but like the whole, like how you felt, how the light was, how things smelled. And there's just like thousands, hundreds of thousands of these little doodly little packets everywhere. And but then like I have to interact with these people who are like on this like only there is only a one line river, and it is straight, and the past is back here, and you're moving through like I okay. So the last thing I'd like to just close with is that what I feel, like how I can even stay and not have a complete, you know, mental breakdown and run away and become homeless, is that I just have to make space for myself and make a buffer from the rest of the world, because I feel that there's just too much going on, and that, you know, it's my responsibility to be the change I want to see. You know, isn't that Dalai Lama quote? And, you know, there's so many people that have gone before us that were kind and compassionate and loving and wise and spiritual, and they can help guide you. There it goes again. You have the right to create a buffer, and you have the right to say, no, I can't do that, I can't commit to that, or I'm not going to let you make me feel bad about myself and about what I'm here trying to do. Just needed to kind of like talk to myself about how I can stay and maintain a level of sanity and of positivity when I'm surrounded by, you know, people who are just waking up and they're trying to deal with all this stuff that I've already, you know, dealt with in the last 5 years, and they don't have the strength, or they don't have the tools or the background to make sense of it, or they're still asleep. And actually that's not so bad, because you kind of just skate through that, and those people are kind of like ghosts, like they don't really see you, it doesn't register, you can't communicate with them. Really, you just kind of like skate through and do what you need to do. But there's a lot of people that I feel like are just kind of waking up and coming to realize that yes, your actions do have consequences, and you can't just blame your situation on like other people. Like, you have made certain decisions, whether you're aware of it or not, and you know, you need to take responsibility for achieving or getting to a point where you're okay, and where you are where you want to be. You can't just be like, oh, you know, like, if here we go with the if onlys again. You know, if only I hadn't done this, instead of being like, if only you had, you know, the baby boomers telling these younger kids, well, if only you'd done this, you wouldn't be in this situation. And then I see younger people going, well, if only I hadn't gotten pregnant when I was 18, or if only I had gone to college, or if only I hadn't gone to college, or, you know, if only I hadn't, you know, gone out drinking that night with my friends, and, you know, or if only I'd taken someone's car keys away. Like, there's too many if onlys. Like, you need to own up to all those decisions that you've made and be like, okay, yeah, I, like, messed up in the past. I made decisions that I'm not happy with now, like, looking back on them. But you can't let shame or guilt weigh you down. You need to think about, like, where am I right now in this moment, and is this good? Like, am I happy? Do I feel good? And if you don't, then think about, like, well, what do I want? Like, why am I not happy? Why does this suck right now? What can I do to change it? And like I said before, there's a lot of things that are external physical things that you don't really have a lot of control over. But I do think, and I don't know that I can provide really evidence of this, the universe does listen to you. And be careful what you ask for, because, like, so I've heard a lot of people say the universe doesn't understand negation. So whatever it is you want, don't say, like, oh, I don't want to, live in Montana. So then you'll just be in Montana forever, because all those negations, they don't count. So when you say, I don't want to, what the universe hears is, I want to. So you might as well just say, I want to live in San Diego or Hawaii or wherever it is that you want to be, that you're going to be your best.